My name's Mathew Russell. I'm Exec Director at Queen's Theatre Hornchurch, which is regional producing theatre for Outer East London and South Essex, and I've been working there for about the last 5 years as part of a kind of period of quite considerable change at the theatre.
Yeah, and I suppose for those who don't know, what does the role of Executive Director entail?
It's essentially oversight of kind of every aspect of what the theatre does at a kind of at the kind of leadership level. So that includes the programming and the kind of the executive producing of the productions that we're involved in. It includes the financial kind of budgeting and kind of forecasting and management accounting. It includes kind of oversight of and kind of direction of the communication strategy and a lot of work with funders and stakeholders and significant kind of fundraising and liaison with donors, and then line management of the kind of senior management team of the theatre, and many other things, including the kind of whole relationship with the governance of the organisation and the board of trustees. But it's quite a wide and encompassing role, which is every day is very different. So.
Yeah, sounds amazing. So get on to the Blueprint Festival, which is why we're here to talk. Can you tell me then a little bit about it? I know it runs from the 12th to the 24th of September, but go ahead and sell it to me.
Yeah, well, it's essentially a kind of fortnight of new and different theatre that is taking place in all kinds of different spaces, which wouldn't necessarily be used for performance or used for performance in the way that they will be during the festival, inside and outside of the building. It has kind of 12 major projects within it, and a lot of those projects are about supporting artists to try out new ideas and to really explore with audiences different forms of what theatre can be.
Yeah, and as you say, kind of new work, kind of just how important is that to you, kind of, and the theatre to have kind of new work, this 2-week festival coming in?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely essential. I think it's more important than ever. I think we're at a point clearly where, it's a tricky time coming out of the pandemic for theatre. I think it's going to remain, an interesting kind of industry to be working in for some time because of all the other kind of national and kind of global complexities. I think in that period it's more important than ever that a regional producing theatre supports artists to keep innovating. And actually I think lots of people will we know that lots of people will want to go to lots of things that they're really comfortable with and they're really familiar with and they really enjoy and they're really entertained with, and that's great, and that's definitely part of what happens in recessions, etc. But also there's definitely a school of thought that the way that we'll keep getting people to come to theatres now and into the future, all from from a whole range of different backgrounds, etc., is to do things that are really exciting and that can compare and contrast with Netflix and streaming and all those things. So we don't want to kind of end up making all kinds of theatre that's in the middle ground. We want to be some stuff that's really great, familiar entertainment, but also some stuff that's really interesting and fascinating and will really kind of stimulate and excite audiences.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it there, but I know the festival has, on the PR says, the biggest investment in deaf and disabled artists in the history of the Queen's Theatre. How have you kind of gone about approaching that?
Yes, I mean overall, it's the festival is definitely the biggest investment in all forms of talent development, and the theatre's transformed its approach to how it supports kind of artists locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally in the last 5 years, and all kinds of innovation there. But this is the biggest kind of single moment in terms of the amount of kind of talent development support, and it includes a real first opportunity for our new creative leadership team that we're working with Brittany, Kate and Sunny, who are creative associates of the theatre, but also creative associates at Grey Eye, the kind of world leading company in working with deaf and disabled and neurodivergent artists. So it's a real opportunity for them. They've only been in post for a few months, but to kind of to bring some of their ideas to fruition, and that includes our first kind of scratch event specifically for deaf, disabled, and neurodivergent artists, which also has kind of headline performers all from Outer East London and South Essex, and also includes us creating a sensory experience that's really thinking about how people engage with particularly family theatre, and we're creating that as a kind of R&D for a kind of future project opportunity. So that's certainly just in that particular strand of what we do. It's quite an advancement, but there's advancements across all sorts of different parts of the talent development kind of sphere.
Of course. And how then do you go about programming the artists that you have coming to the festival?
Yes, I mean, essentially, it was quite it's all come about very quickly, really. So I suppose we were, we're all working out at each different point now what the program cycle should look like and what audiences most want, but also really importantly how we can support the artistic community and the freelancers that we work with. And we know through the pandemic, even more it's been heightened how much the freelance part of the cultural ecology is fragile. So it seemed when we were thinking about the first production of our autumn, we had some ideas that we were considering, but actually we kind of decided to and this was only in the middle of May, to turn things upside down and actually say, rather than kind of put all our resource into producing a show with a cast of 6 or 7 people in it and a creative team, and to run it for kind of 3 or 4 weeks, we'd actually invest all of the staff time, all of the production workshop, the wardrobe, the technical team, the marketing resource, all of that into actually something that would support a whole range of different artists to kind of explore ideas, and would provide many more employment opportunities than a kind of single production would be. So then we went out and we just had lots of conversations very quickly, and a whole strand of conversations with people who we've got plays in development or commission with, or we wanted to commission, about how we could share those strands of conversation about people who wanted to make work in different parts of our building, a different strand about kind of digital technology and our real hope we have to kind of continue using digital methods to make different forms of theatre, and then around the whole kind of talent development strand around the whole series of different communities. And so we just, for a series of sparky conversations that happened quite quickly, most things landed, which is amazing. Some lovely ideas escaped because of time, but actually we're thrilled with the program we've managed to put together, and it's really proven to be exciting and quite inspiring.
Yeah, obviously we're not going to go through individual kind of every show, but kind of what do you want an audience member to take away from coming to the Blueprint Festival?
I want them to take away the fact that they can have conversations with artists about the work that's been made and why it's been made, and they can influence the development of a whole series of work into the future. They can be part the beginnings of either innovation or kind of a new play, and really feel that they're part of creating that work and influencing that work, etc. That's really important. And talk to people about what a writer, what an artist, what a designer, what a maker has considered in terms of the work that they're sharing. I'd like them to kind of see things that they've never seen before, and kind of be and they won't and be honest about what they do like and don't like. I'd like some people who think that traditional theatre isn't for them to kind of to engage with the theatre and go, if this is what theatre is, this could be really exciting. This isn't what I thought theatre was, but actually this is something that really thrills me. And I'd really like people to discover the kind of the building as well. It's recently been received a grade 2 listing in recognition of the Jubilee year, the only theatre in the country and the only organisation, the only building in London to be grade 2 listed for the Jubilee. And it's an extraordinary building, and this work will take place in all kinds of spaces, and I think people will find that really exciting to explore spaces and corridors and passages and routes and all kinds of different perspectives that they won't have seen before.
You've very much preempted my next question there, because I was going to ask you obviously about the grade 2 listed building side of it, and how obviously amazing that is, and how's that going to help going forwards for you guys?
Well, I think there's so much love affection for Queen City Hornchurch as a building, as a kind of how it's placed within the community in terms of how that people have grown up with the theatre and often talk about the kind of hugely influencing factor it's had on their lives. And I think that a lot of that often comes back to it being a rather extraordinary building in a rather extraordinary place, and we always remind ourselves just how lucky we are to have an auditorium that works as well as it does, the size of the stage, the wonderful foyers, the new spaces that we've done a lot of work to create, our rehearsal space, our learning space, our artist space as part of recent developments. The fact we have a on-site workshop with a paint frame, all these things, wonderful costume stores, wonderful prop stores, and actually as I said, the kind of at the heart of that is this building and how iconic it is, and actually for that to be recognised and to be kind of secured into the future as a wonderful asset and a wonderful example of a period when lots of different theatres were built, and some of those are no longer with us for sometimes the right reasons, but this one is definitely should be here for many years into the future, and is something we can keep building on how we use and allow more and more different people to kind of access it. So it's a real kind of recognition, a real security, a real support for that love and affection that's felt.
Yes, and I couldn't have you here and not ask you about the show after the Blueprint Festival, which obviously Kinky Boots, which is coming in, which is very exciting. How kind of, I know it's in rehearsals when it starts in Ipswich, it's co-production, but how excited are you guys to have it coming in, the first new production outside of the West End?
Yeah, I mean, we're just absolutely thrilled to bits. I mean, it is just, it's a show that people have such a love affair with, and we're just seeing that in terms of the amount of enthusiasm for it. It's fantastic. The team that Tim Jackson has assembled, the creative team, the company, Tim, who's one of our creative leadership team, who we've worked with on projects before, but now is part of the kind of leadership of the theatre, which is a really wonderful and a wonderful opportunity for us to work with him more closely. I mean, he's really reflecting on how to kind of really make sure that Kinky Boots, is representative of the kind of change since it was first written and created, but also really loyal to the heart of the show that people love. And he's doing that in a really beautiful and loving way. And it's great to be working with the new Willsey again, because obviously we've got a very long-standing partnership. I think we're on co-production 8 in the last 5 years, and we just we love being able to work to kind of create together to create projects of this scale that really kind of showcase in terms of the kind of the actor musician element, etc., really showcase some brilliant performers and some brilliant creatives, and in terms of that it explores some really important issues that we deeply believe in, but also it's great entertainment and a great night out. And in terms of sitting alongside Blueprint will be a great night out, but it's a different sort of great night out. The different projects are in Blueprint, and this is it's demonstrating the very best, I think, of what a regional producer theatre can be in terms of the kind of the contrast within its program. So yeah, we're so excited. We're at the end of week 3. The show's all been put together. We're getting into kind of run throughs and staggers. There's extraordinary amount of costumes being created, the sets being installed on Monday. It's just we're just buzzing.
Amazing. I'm sure it's going to go down superbly. But I have a couple of more just questions about you and theatre generally. The first one being, what was the first piece of theatre you can remember seeing in your life?
Oh my golly, that's a really difficult question. I don't think I can actually answer that directly. I do remember quite early on in my life seeing Jack and the Beanstalk at the Theatre Royal Bath with Terry Scott and June Whitfield when I was a very little boy, and it was my birthday, and I remember starting to cry in the second act, and my mum leaned over and like, why are you crying? And I was like, it's going to finish. I know it's going to finish, and I just wanted it to go on forever. And in fact, it really was part of I'm not sure whether it was the very first thing I saw, but it was part of a love affair with theatre, and indeed a love affair with pantomime, which I just think is just such an extraordinary part of what theatre does. And I've had that, I've experienced that love affair ever since. And I think early on in, when I was at university, I think somebody told me, if you keep going to the theatre as often as you do, you're going to burn out and you're going to fall out of love with theatre. Well, I'm glad to say they might have been right about lots of things, but they certainly weren't right about that. And I still love theatre as much as ever, and I love being part of helping to make it happen.
Yeah, and this is a difficult one, but do you have a favourite piece of theatre you've seen in your lifetime to date?
It's a really, really difficult question. Oh gosh, I remember I'll always come back to Follies, the Stephen Sondheim musical. That is one of my favourite things ever, and I saw that again when I was relatively young in the West End with Julia Mackenzie and Eartha Kitt. I was still wearing Eartha Kitt singing "I'm Still Here," and so I certainly that kind of sparked a kind of love affair with Stephen Sondheim and that particular show, and I just find every time I see it, I just find it extraordinarily moving, or any of the kind of songs within it. And also kind of and I also remember, in terms of a piece of theatre that had a huge impact on me, was Feston, the adaptation by David Eldridge, the Rufus Norris production that I saw in the West End, and I talk about that, I guess, because I couldn't speak for about half an hour afterwards, and probably given how much I've burbled on in this interview, you probably can't believe that, but I literally kind of walked home from it and just couldn't speak. I was so moved by it and so devastated. And interestingly, in terms of something more recent, I went to see Sing Your Heart Out for the Lads at Chichester, Roy Williams' rather extraordinary play, a couple of weekends ago, and I was so moved by that I had to sit in the foyer and kind of sobbed afterwards. So I'm very lucky that, I could go on for hours about extraordinary things I've seen, but I'm very lucky to have seen some really powerful pieces of theatre. I'm really grateful for the people who've made those. So.
This is the more deep question, but simply, what does theatre mean to you?
What does theatre mean to me? Oh, you're really putting me through the ringer. This now that I should put a blueprint. What does theatre mean to me? I think what it is, it's about the shared experience of a group of people coming together to really explore what it means to be human to a certain extent. And I think to learn about each other, to reflect on the human experience, to learn about the world, to kind of to laugh, to cry, and just how the power of being in that room together, and whatever that room is, and that room can be in an auditorium, it can be a car park, it can be a field, it can be it can be the basement of a theatre. That shared experience of going through that and all of the craft and all of the skill that goes into making that happen. It is I think what I really love about it, and I just think the fact that there's so much ambition and so much in every time somebody makes a piece of theatre. Every first day of rehearsal, whatever every first day of a get in, etc., there's so much so much excitement, and I think it's it doesn't always come off. But what's so wonderful is that everybody goes into it with the very best intentions to create something quite extraordinary for audiences, and I love that sense of the shared experience within the space as an audience member, but also that shared endeavor to be our very best and to create something rather wonderful in whatever way it moves us as human beings.
Brilliant answer. And my final question for you today goes full circle to simply, why should anyone come and check out Blueprint Festival?
Well, I think mainly you'll never, to a certain extent, lots of people, particularly we've got, we serve over 1 million people in our part of the country, and there's not a lot of theatre provision within that within the 30-minute drive time of the theatre, and there's not a lot of site specific, immersive, different forms, digital theatre taking place. I think that there's obviously there's stuff that's similar to some extent to Blueprint, although it's all new work taking place in the centre of London or in Edinburgh, etc. But I think to have that kind of new and different theatre on your doorstep, and to have it in a the ticket pricing is very accessible. It's, most tickets are £5 or £3 or free, and to just be able to kind of immerse yourself in seeing all kinds of stuff and just and just enjoying that and being part of the conversation about it. I just think it's gonna be thrilling, and I think anybody who likes any form of kind of any form of event, any form of experience, any kind of anything that they just enjoy being with other people and being stimulated and enjoying themselves, then I don't think you'd want to miss it. I think it's brilliant, and it's on the doorstep of lots of people who wouldn't otherwise access that sort of stuff.
Amazing. Well, that leads me to thank you for your time. The Blueprint Festival runs at the Queen Theatre, Hornchurch, from the 12th to 24th of September.